Good morning, everybody. All right, it's about 20 till 11, and I'm back out here in my art studio, and I've been working on my little ornament. So I started out by sketching the ornament, sketching the pine needles, and I started blocking out color. This was wet on wet, so I put my tape around the watercolor paper, sketched it out with pencil, lightly brushed water over it. Actually, I put a lot of water over it. So some of the paint ran and I've had to dab it with my paper towel. I've left some areas of white for light. So I let it sit yesterday. I had to come back because some of it ran around the edges. I've gone back over it. I've been using two brushes. So I've used my fine tipped brush and a small round brush. And my brushes are so old, they've lost the numbers. So I'm not sure what you can see about how big it is. It's about half the size of lengthwise of my pink index finger. So for the fine lines, I used this for the pine needles. So I went over my pencil lines and I did green, light, very light green. So I wet my brush, dragged it through my tray where my green is, very, very lightly, pulled it. I know some of y'all were having trouble with using too much paint. So just very lightly to get those fine lines. And you do need to go back and forth, loading your brush with water to get these lines. So I did that with the green, and then this morning I went back over it with brown and added some brown lines. And then I let it dry for a little bit, and I went back over with my round brush, picked up some brown, and just went right over everything to add just some background color. And you can do that, just make sure you don't have too much in your brush, and you can just, I got too much right there. So just lightly, still too much. If you see you've got too much, just dip your brush in the water and smooth it out. So I added the brown. Behind each of the pine needles. And that might run since I'm holding it up. Okay. And then I went back over again with my red, my lemon yellow, my yellow ochre, my French ultramarine, and wet my brush, picked up a little red, and just kind of played with it. There's no right or wrong with it. And you can mix those colors in other areas. Okay. Then I took my pen, because I like my pen, and I went back and just lightly added more definition. I also circled the ornament, and because my paint bled, I added the little hint of where the light hits it. So that's it. That one is finito. Okay, so that's just a simple way for you to do wet on wet, practice your fine lines, and practice blocking out color. Okay, I'm going to move to the pine cone, which seems a little harder. So this was the pine cone that I was going to work on, or am going to work on. Okay. And it looks like there's brown, maybe a little bit of a hint of an orange red, some red, some burnt umber, burnt sienna, and then a lot of white left in the area. So this is what I started with yesterday. I blocked out using the tape. I drew the pine needles. I drew a base for the pine cone, and I'm just going to start playing with it. Have no idea how this will work out, but that's all we can do is just try, right? All right, so I'm going to go back with some of this green. And add a few more fine green lines. Sometimes I find that turning my painting upside down helps me to not smudge it, and I can get to those other areas. So I'm basically doing the same thing that I did before. I mean, this is now dry paper with wet on it, and I may go back and add a little, especially to the pine cone area. I may go back and add some water there. And it does take time. I mean, you really need to go back and load your brush again. All right, I'll leave that for now and come back with some brown. And I'm just using a lot of water and a little bit of paint. And again, I'll probably go back with my pen to add some contour lines. Another thing that you can do is you can overlap the needles over your image. I mean, this is your focal point, but you can, once it's dry, go back over it and add lines over it to give it the illusion of depth. I believe I talked about that yesterday. All right, so I'm going to try to find a darker brown now and work on the branches and maybe part of the pine cone. I'm going to use my round brush and get a good bit of paint in there. And I may need to add a little black or something to the brown to get it to be a little darker. There are no rules, and your image does not have to be exactly like the one that you're painting. So I'm taking the lines on the outside here, and I'm filling that tip of that brush up with a little more paint than I would if I were filling in the interior part. And I'm just trying to make it a little more realistic. So I'll go along the edge and then I'll pull some out so that it actually looks like a branch. I've tightened up on the ferrule here because this is more like drawing now. Okay. I'm going to pick up a little bit of, I'm not sure if this is, I think this is blue, a muted blue, and I'm going to mix it in with my brown here since the image has some darker areas um, on the pine cone. And I'm going to turn it upside down. And I'm just going to fill in some spaces. I'm looking back and forth at my picture. Kind of pushing off on the sides there where it would look like, you know, a pine cone. I don't know what those things are called on the pine cone. What are they called? Dabbing a little bit more of that darker blue in with the brown to give it some definition. And this is not really precise at all, you know. You just have to kind of be loosey-goosey with it. All right, that doesn't look too shabby. I'm gonna leave that for a little bit and let it dry. And then I'm gonna come back to it and add some more definition to the branches, the needles, and the pine cone. And I think I showed you yesterday that you can take your brush and you can tap it to make little splatters on it, which gives it a little fun finesse. All right, so I'm going to set that to the side and I'm going to move to, let's see, we'll do a little turtle. So I'm going to try this turtle here, but I'm not going to use the same colors that are in the image with the turtle. I'm going to just find my own aesthetic. I've already I've already taken my my Canson watercolor sketchbook, which is 7x9, and I've blocked out 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's as many as I've got left. Oops. All right. So again, I'm going to start sketching. And I'm going to turn my turtle. Let's see. I'm going to turn it horizontally. Oopsie. I'm going to turn it this way and put it on my paper sideways. Shoot, I can't get my phone to stay open. All right, I think I got it. Fiddle. One more time. All right, so I'm just going to start sketching. And you can go past your tape Now this has a very tiny fine line around the rim of the tortoise, or sea turtle, rather. And these white lines connect. So I'm gonna have to go back in and connect those lines like so, because this area will be white. Okay, you can see that. All right, so I kind of sort of have it blocked out a little bit, and I'm going to have to go back around and connect these lines. Mm. And I am not being super precise with this. All right. So I've got the base for the turtle shell, and his arm or fin comes out one section below these top markings. So right about here. And then the other one is going to go off my page, which is fine. And then these little ones down here at the bottom. All right, so I've got a turtle that I've drawn, and I'm going to again do wet on wet. And I think I'm going to first go behind him and do blue. And again, just kind of loosey-goosey, you know, it's okay if it overlaps into the turtle where you've drawn him. Not sure what that is. Picking up where that water is. And leaving some areas of light. Maybe I'll do some darker down here at the bottom. Okay, so I've blocked out with paper, I've sketched the turtle, and I've done some background. And I think I'm going to go with greens and browns for this. So I'm just going to start picking up I'm going to start with a green and just go ahead and shade in his head and his fins. And then go back in and do these sections on his shell in green, leaving, you know, a little white area where we can add another color for definition. And go back over it and pick some of that up. Carry it over to some of your other places where you're going to add the color. Oops. I'm going to go back with my tiny little brush and I'm going to go into that glob of paint and pull it gently through where the water is and load the brush. Now I'm going to have to keep coming back and doing that. And this is going to give me some lines. So I'm going to outline very, very delicate lines along his head and his fins. I'll turn him upside down or her upside down. And I'm going to go around the exterior, again, pulling a little bit of my paint from the glob and just give some delicate lines around the exterior of his body, her body. And then I'm going to end up filling in with some browns, maybe in yellow. Tightened up on my ferrule so that I have a little bit more precision. You can also go on the outside of that pencil line, just right on the outside of it. You don't have to go over it. You'll end up going over it, but you can go on the outside of it and that'll give you a little bit more room when we go back in to do the browns. And I think where the white is where I'm gonna put some different shades of yellows and brown, gold, yellow, brown. And again, I'll probably go back with my pen and go over it because that is my aesthetic. Picked up a little gray there. That's all right. I like that. All right. So that's what I have so far. And I'm going to let that dry, and I'm going to go back into my water area and just add some light, some yellow in places. Maybe in some of those areas where there's white, I'll go around the edge of it, leaving the white. All right, now that I've got that yellow on my brush, I'm going to go back up here and add a little yellow on her head. And anywhere that I've got a little bit of white, I'm just going to add some definition. Oops, with the yellow. No rules, y'all. You can paint it how you want it. All right, so that's the evolution of where I am now. I'm going to take my smaller brush and go back into some of this brown. Whew. Pardon me. I'm going to turn him upside down. And I'm going to see if I can just gently do some brown around where we left that space. Let's see how that looks. And again, I've tightened up on my ferrule. Leaving some areas of white. Excuse me. So that's what I've got so far. I'm going to go back and pick up some of this yellow ochre that I have. And add it on top of that green for some depth and contour. Excuse me. All right, and I'm gonna let that dry, and then I'm gonna go back again, and I will do my lines around it. So I think I can come back to my fun cone. I'm gonna take my rounded brush, and I'm gonna pick up some of that yellow ochre and add it in some areas for a little light. Dabbing it around the edge. I may take some up into the tree here. Giving it just a little bit of some background yellow. Okay. And there's a smidge of blue in there somewhere, so I'm going to see how that'll work. I know there was like just some kind of a interesting blue. So I'm just going to find a couple of places. You know, maybe it's catching some light somehow. And maybe I'll do a little blue wash in here. That's starting to come together. I'm going to pick up some of that darker purple or something that I had over there and mix it in with my brown to darken that brown. So I'm going to come back into the tree and do some contour lines kind of right under or close to some of the needles. As you can see, I still have to continually come back to fill my brush, which again for me is one of the frustrating things about watercolor. I tend to like to just work fast. That's my I'm gonna take that across there. See how that looks. Yeah, I like to work fast, and watercolor is a very patient type of art medium. Excuse me, I have allergies, y'all. But you can work fast too with watercolor. You're just it's going to be very loose. All right, so I'm going to stop with that for now. There's your pine cone. I'll come back to that later and play with it a little bit. And I think I'm going to pick up some of this orangey, reddish. I'm not sure what this is. It looks like I've got burnt sienna mixed with maybe some ochre. So it's kind of an orangey color. Brush is not wet enough. Here we go. So you can put that paint on there thick, and then you can kind of spread it the way you want it to move. All right, so I'm going to leave that now for now. I'm going to leave both the turtle and the pine cone and the ornament. And so I have this cute little stamp that I got with my name on it. And I like to stamp my work with it. Then I go back over it with a pen so it's a little more, has a little bit more definition. Okay, so that one's basically done. I'm gonna spray it real quick so I can show y'all. I'll bring the archival varnish for you. You can use, boy, you can use satin finish or archival varnish. My archival varnish is over there. I was using it for my oyster shells. And you really need to have it in a well ventilated area. So I'm just gonna take it and lightly spray it. And then I'm going to let that dry, and I'll spray it again, and it'll give it a little bit of a sheen. And it also preserves your artwork. So looks like I missed some places. So we'll see how that looks when we come back to it. All right, that's it for now. I've got to clean my palette and start sketching out some of the other sea creatures. So I will try to do another video today. It's 11:30 now. I'll probably do the crab and a jellyfish. And then I also have these images that I found, and I really like the colors in these. So there's a starfish, you've got some coral and other little fishes. So this is in the this looks like a burnt umber, maybe with some red orange in it, and then you've got your different varying shades of your blue green cool colors for the seaweed, orangey for the coral, and then the blues and greens for your other sea creatures. So there's a fish, another turtle, seahorse, and a crab. And then I have the manatee that I'm going to work on too. And I may take a little bit of a break to do some of my, hey, sorry, I have really bad reception out here. I'm about 100 feet from my house, but the internet is in the front. So bear with me. Anyway, I'm wrapping this up right now. I'm going to take a little break. I'm going to upload this, and I'll come back and I'll show you how these look dry. I'll refine them a little bit more, and then I'll start on some more sea creatures. And I may take a little bit of a break today to work on some of the acrylic paintings that I want to try to sell. So if you're watching these, please like and subscribe. I hear that's the thing to ask. So like and subscribe, and you should have your own YouTube site. Use your email and create your password, and then that should be able to bring you to my channel so that you can watch all the painting videos. All right, cheers, ladies. I'll see you in a little bit, and I'll see you in person tomorrow.